The first thing is that the organization, the pre-show work that happens is essential work. So getting a proper stage plot together, and there are many programs that you can get online for free, or you can get a professional one that will help you put together a stage plot. And on that stage plot appears what your band inputs are, what microphones do you need, what direct inputs do you need, where everything sits on the stage in relationship to the audience. And if you can provide those things as early as possible. So when this festival started being organized for bands, we started asking for stage plots in May. And here we are in July, and there have been still one or two bands that we've had to kind of punt and find them when they get here to ask for what are your technical needs. That's probably the first thing bands need to know. And once the band arrives at the festival or at whatever venue they're playing, one of the most important things to do is to find the sound people right away. If they haven't had a stage plot yet, give them the stage plot. Tell them, are there changes? Because inevitably all bands have changes. I shouldn't say all, but a lot of bands have changes.
Very good documentation is key. In other words, none of the bands that I know, none of the bands that are going to show up here today I've ever worked with before. So if someone walks on stage with 5 musicians, I don't know who's singing, I don't know who's the primary vocalist, I don't know who the background vocalists are, I don't know if they're going to change instruments, from time to time. So that kind of documentation and preparation is going to make things go far more smoothly in the long run. Stage plot and an input list.
When it's time for a band to get on stage and start working with the sound people is attention to the task at hand, which is getting the best sound that you can. Frequently for me, as someone who helps bands do this, it can be like herding cats sometimes, and people will be noodling on their instruments, or they will be talking with somebody at the edge of the stage. And the most important thing for a band to realize when you start the process of making this happen and making it happen as smoothly, quickly as possible is to pay attention. I frequently stand on the front of the stage and kind of run the show, and I'll point to or say, as I'll have a walkie-talkie, I'll let the monitor engineer and I'll let the front of house engineer, we're working with the guitar on channel 28, or we are working with the vocal on channel 28, whatever channel it may be. And one of the things that we tell almost all performers that I try to do is to get there, make sure I have their attention, and when you are getting your monitors set up, I'll say, if you want it in your monitor, put a finger in the air. I need more in my monitor. Turn it down. I need less in my monitor. And I tell almost everybody to do that. Some people instinctively know to do it, and sometimes people get distracted.
Yeah, that's the $10 million question. And this all comes down to craft. I mean, if you're a musician, you've probably spent a tremendous amount of time learning your instrument, learning its advantages, learning its disadvantages, where it fits in the context of the material that you're going to present. That's a given on our part. We figure you guys have woodshedded enough, and you've done so in a way that this particular festival says, yeah, that's a good band. They present themselves well. They know how to play their instruments. But that's just the basics of it.
My biggest pet peeve, I would say, is bands getting in on time. A lot of bands sometimes don't show up until 15 minutes, 10 minutes. And myself, the people on site crew, the stage managers, will be on radios saying, where is so-and-so, why aren't they here? We need to know what they need.
Another really important segment to it is to realize that when you're walking into an environment like this, maybe the first time, and tent structures or open air environments like the main stage behind you will never sound like anything you've ever rehearsed in. So I make this point to a lot of young musicians whom I meet, and I said, so here's a question for you. When you're playing, what's the biggest instrument in the room? And the bass player kind of steps up and says, well, look at the size of this thing. That's not my point. My point is that when you're playing in an environment, the environment, whether it's the tent or open air or a concert hall, that's the biggest instrument. You have to play to your environment. And that's a difficult thing to acquire. That's a skill that, takes practice and experience. That, don't go on stage, dial everything up to 10 and figure, sound guys will take care of it. No, you've already defeated yourself. You need to learn to play within the context of your music and within the context of the band. The best musicians I know are excellent listeners. And that's really a predominant skill that needs to be acquired. It takes a long time. And the truth of the matter is that most of the musicians that I work with currently are experienced, and they understand the idea of if you're singing really loud into a microphone, you're better backing off, because it's entirely possible that just sound pressure level coming out of you will distort that microphone, change the tonality, and ruin the mix. If you're doing something that's a little more subtle, more kind of like whispering in someone's ear, you want to get a little closer to the mic and maybe impart some low frequencies and make it more intimate. Once again, that's an experience thing.
Every day you work on the Illinois River, get a half a day off with pay. On a tugboat, building up barges on a long hot summer day.
It's a good idea that a stage manager stays close to the action when we're changing over bands, that a stage manager has an idea that they're still working on the monitors, or they're ready to go and not standing around, or we finished early, you have 10 minutes, you can take 10 minutes off the stage instead of lingering around on the stage. Stage managers need to have an idea of when the performer has finished, and that's a pretty important piece as well.
They need to be concise. And I'm not dissing anybody that I've ever worked with before. But very often I see stage managers or MCs come up and go into comedy routine. 5-minute changes, between acts doesn't allow for that. We've got to get people on and off quickly. They have to be, plugged in accurately. They have to understand their position on the stage. And if someone's going into, some sort of diatribe about, whatever suits their purposes, they're wasting the band's time and the audience's time.